Just flew back in from GenCon, and boy, are my arms tired.
That's right, we got a lot to talk about.
Let's roll the clips.
Welcome to Duality Gamecast, game reviews by people who love to play games.
GenCon is massive, and I think the only way for us to do a proper overview of the GenCon experience that we had is to break it into sections. So I've got some different topics, but let's start with the exhibit hall. The exhibit hall is a giant space dedicated to the dealers and all the happy gamers that want to come and see what those dealers have for sale.
You need to realize when you're going to this, if it's your first time, is there's no room. You're going to be shoulder to shoulder, backpack to backpack.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be crammed full. You need to get in line quickly. Your first day there, and that's, I think, something we realized. At first we're like, well, let's look at all the vendors. By the time we were ready to get in line, like Fantasy Flight had a line so long, like fire marshals were telling them they couldn't have lines any longer. They had to stop it. So it's the big thing here is when you're going in is know where you want to go or go in just for the ride. You can't really do both. If you actually want to buy stuff, head to that booth first and buy it. If you just want to browse, walk around, that's all you're going to be doing, because you could take a whole day just walking the booth floor.
Yeah, you need to, if it's something you need to buy, understand that the exhibit hall, the con starts at 8 a.m. The exhibit hall opens at 10 a.m. And there is a horde of people waiting to get in at 10 a.m. Like, horde. So be there at 9:30 and know exactly what booth you want to go to. Don't plan to get 6 different hot items. It's probably not going to work out. All the big companies, Fantasy Flight, Upper Deck, Aiello, Asmodee, etc., they're going to have big lines.
Yes.
So you're going to need to be prepared to go straight to one of those and still stand in line.
Because, like, for instance, the Fantasy Flight booth, it was the most busiest of all of them. And it was actually cordoned off and had a big, huge line. And so basically you'd stand in line. On the first day, you stand in line for like an hour. On day 3, it was only about 20 minutes I had to stand in the line. But you wait, you get in the line, and then you get into the little sales area. You wrestle everybody over the stuff you want, grab the thing you want, and then you get in line again to go bring you out. And that was another 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. So you can't go in thinking that you're just going to hop from booth to booth to booth to booth to booth, because you're not going to be able to. You're just going to if you do that, you're just going to spend the whole day in line, basically queuing. So you have to be prepared for that if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on in that dealer hall, in that exhibit hall, that will get in your way, for lack of a better term. They're doing demos at a ton of these booths.
Yep.
There was one in particular, the Flick 'em Up, which we didn't even get to do because there's so many people. But they had put cowboy hats on people. They had giant tables right on the edge of the aisle, and there were huge crowds watching that. And this happened throughout the exhibit hall. You'd hit these points where people are gathered around watching demos, talking to designers or artists, and creating these big traffic jams. So you got to have a strategy. You got to be able to roll with that stuff. There's a lot of other cool stuff. There's cosplayers wandering around.
Mm-hmm.
They sometimes will stop traffic. People want to take pictures with them and what have you. You've got artists signing artwork. Dylan, you got a sketch from a magic artist with Steve Prescott.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Very cool. There's also some weird systems. For instance, in the Artist Alley, which is one special section of the exhibit hall, you've got these artists with booths, and they will do sketches for you and sell you their art. And it's a little weird because you can't go to the artist and buy something from them. You go to the artist, decide what you want to buy. They write a little receipt thing out for you. Then you go stand in another line, pay, take the receipt from that back to the artist, and they give you what you bought. So it's a little weird system. We got a little lucky where we got something just for tips, but I don't think that's actually how it's supposed to work.
Well, and not only that, like, buying there in general is like, because it's a 4-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Even the big publishers, when you're just trying to buy board games and that type of thing, it's a little interesting because they run out of stock every day. So it's things that are really hot, like the Game of Thrones LCG, every day they were out an hour into the doors opening, but they were partitioning it out over the period of those 4 days to make sure that people who came on any given day had a chance to get it.
Right.
So you're gonna if you're taking your time, or if you're like before, if you're trying to get a bunch of different lines and buy a bunch of different stuff, if it's some new hotness, there's a chance it's not even going to be there for you. So you might want to plan, if you're going to be there for the 4-day event, is spend the first 2 hours every day buying stuff, and spend the rest of your day playing it instead of trying to buy it all in one day.
There was, what was the game you tried to get from Cryptozoic? Spyfall. I think they only had 25 copies a day. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
And so, 25 copies a day when there's 65,000 people coming to this convention, your odds are pretty low.
Yeah.
How long were you in the line at Fantasy Flight for Game of Thrones?
For Game of Thrones, for the first time, I went through the whole line, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't have it." And I was in line for probably about 25, 30 minutes. The next time, it went a lot quicker. The last day, because I was there at the doors and I hopped right in the line. But even then, we went in on the doors on the wrong side of the convention center, and I had to walk through the whole throng of it to get to the Fantasy Flight one.
Right.
So there was already a little bit of line. That only took 15 minutes. That was relatively quick, and I think that as a whole, this is their 3rd day doing it, they were way more on top of moving people through and accelerating things.
I was in line at the Plaid Hat booth for Ashes for 20, 30 minutes, and I discovered something. Some lines are definitely managed better than others. You're going to see a lot of big booths with sort of wraparound lines, and there's going to be volunteers and employees talking to people all around that line, showing off product and stuff. But more or less, the system, the way most of them worked, is you got to get to the end of that line to pay. And this kind of created some problems, especially at Plaid Hat, where folks were talking to one volunteer about one of their games, and no one could really tell, well, is this line moving? Or are we all going to wait until this guy's done talking to these people? Because we're just trying to get through to the end of the line so we can pay. And they got to the end of the line, and the designer of Ashes was hanging around, Isaac Vega, and there was this weird sort of line/mob created right after you pay for people who wanted him to sign their copy of Ashes, which is totally cool, but it was very unorganized. So you got to watch out for that kind of stuff, and be aware sometimes people are just talking, and you're just going to have to be a little more assertive and say, hey, is this the line to pay? That kind of thing is going to happen. All right, so we mentioned briefly cosplayers walking around the exhibit hall. Let's talk about cosplayers specifically now, because there were a lot of them at the convention. Dylan, which one was your favorite or most standout cosplay that you saw?
I took a picture with that Master Chief.
That was a good Master Chief costume.
Yeah, it was really good, because this is the first con. Well, I've been to 2 cons in my life. One was kind of there's no cosplayers, but this one was the only one with cosplayers in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen a Master Chief costume like that. It was so good. The pieces looked nice. His helmet had the right color visor. It was all really nice. I saw a Slender Man.
Yeah, walking around.
Yeah, just walking around.
On the stilts?
Tall.
That was
yeah,
pretty creepy.
Stilts.
I didn't even know Slender Man was supposed to be especially tall, but that was impressive.
Yeah, but yeah, out of everything, my favorite one was actually the Master Chief I took a picture with.
How about you, Will?
Well, there's so many. I think the one that I liked the best was just the Boba Fett. It just looked most, because I've seen it in a movie, he looked most accurate to what I've actually physically seen. The thing that I've noticed is, and what I feel is the big thing with them, is respect, right? Cosplayers are walking around, they're there to take pictures. That's why they dressed up.
Right.
But you need to engage them, give them time to get in their pose, because they're kind of doing a performance art type of a thing. So the idea is, hey, can I take a picture? There's a chance they might say no, because maybe they're I'm done for the day. But usually they're yeah, and then they get in a little pose and you take their picture. But you kind of need to give them some room, because they're all in costumes, a lot of them wearing helmets, stuff they can't see. It's hard to get their attention, because a lot of them wearing blinders. It's about being able to interact with them well and knowing when to get out of their way and making sure you don't walk in other people's cameras, because that seemed to happen a lot, where we go to set up, someone's like, yeah, and they go to pose, and then just hordes of people are walking between you and them and not even paying attention to the fact that, like, hey, there's this, if you pause for 4 seconds, I can get this picture, we'd be out of your way.
Yeah, and I think, although I didn't do this, it would probably be better to try to take those cosplay pictures in the passageways between the halls.
Yes.
You know, that's where a lot of the cosplayers hang out. I did take some pictures in the exhibit hall and the play hall, but you can create some traffic jams that way.
Really quick.
I did see some amazing cosplay. A couple of my favorites, Warpo had a guy in a Cthulhu suit there, which was awesome. But we got a combo cosplay picture, which is definitely my favorite. It's Boba Fett, Wesley, and the guy from Kung Fury in front of the Predator Upper Deck booth. So it was like a total genre mashup. Dylan got in that picture, but that was pretty awesome. That just capped it for me.
Yeah, and that's what I think overall you have to get, is that the people who are cosplaying are there for a different reason. A few of them are in line getting games, but you can think of them as kind of like performance artists there to entertain you while you're waiting for other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to have there.
So across the way from the exhibit hall is the play hall. There's a lot of different stuff going on in this hall. Zones marked out by colored tablecloths for different companies have designated play areas in there. They also have an area of red tablecloths for demos / indie gamer projects. We spent a lot of time there.
Yes.
They had a huge section cordoned off by Fantasy Flight for their tournaments, and a huge section cordoned off by Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, for their tournaments, which was packed all the time because of their tournaments. We also had Battletech pods going from Virtual World. There was a miniature gamers kind of section, it seemed like, or at least where they like to hang out. It was an interesting experience, not what we thought at first.
No, yeah, that's just it. The play hall is almost like a live. It isn't for you to just play in. And that was one of the things that we ran into, and I'm going to maybe a little bit of a tangent here, is that there's no section at GenCon for you to buy a game from a company and then walk out and play.
Yeah, on your own.
On your own. I mean, people are doing that, but they're all doing it, quote-unquote, illegally. Like, every surface, every table is already pre-scheduled and paid for by some company or some organization to be used at some point during Gen Con. A lot of them, like Fantasy Flight, Wizards of the Coast, they're using them 24 hours a day, basically. Some of the other stuff, they're using them in much smaller chunks. So there's sections that just have tables that no one's using, and you can kind of walk up and use. And that's basically what you end up doing, is that if you want to play something that isn't a scheduled event, that isn't a demo for somebody that had paid for a table, you're kind of squatting on someone else's table, and you have to just be cool with the fact that you're going to sit down and play, and someone's going to come and go like, hey, get off of here, but I need to use it. So far, it seemed like everyone was pretty cool with that. Like, we didn't have anybody get upset about anything because we were somewhere. I didn't see anybody get upset at anybody for being in the wrong place, but there's a lot of, you have to be nice and realize that, like, they're paying money for it. Right. They're scheduled the stuff, so you have to get up if someone walks up and says, hey, this is our play area, we need to demo something or show something off.
Yeah, I did not expect there to be no, just free play area at all. And then you learn that you can buy these generic tickets that you cash in for table events. But there's no table event where you just sit down and play for a ticket either. It's all scheduled. Even the indie area was basically cordoned off, I think, mainly by a company called IGA, or not a company, an organization, which promotes independent game design.
Yeah.
We were there with our friends from Trove, right? Patrick and David.
Yep.
Got to spend some time. You got to demo your game.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's kind of on the down low, but I got to show my game a little bit.
Officially. And we played another game. Flippin' Winnipeg.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. What were you going to say, Dylan?
Oh, look, Gen Con, I don't know who runs you. I don't know, what you are. You're some weird entity at this point. but you need to sort that out with the whole tickets to sit down and play games thing, because it has this really corporate dystopian feel to it. It's really like you need a
cyberpunk con.
Yeah, like you need a ticket, stand in line, wait for your food paste. You know, it's really dystopian and weird.
We did
It's
have
not fair.
Well, okay, that's hyperbole, but we did have. There's an information booth in that hall, and we did listen to the guy at the booth basically say, "Show me your ticket, or I won't talk to you."
Yeah,
And that was a little weird. Hopefully, he was just trying to be funny, but that was a little weird.
Well, and there's also weird because everything is so like pre-purchased there, and like time and space and everything. We'd be walking along and someone's setting up a game to demo, and we'd be like, "Cool, what's your game?" They're like, "Do you have tickets?" And we're like, "No, we don't have tickets. You're demoing a game." So it's this weird thing where some of the it wasn't like that at the indie booth or the indie tables that we went to. They were just showing off the games. But for slightly bigger things, people are charging to demo their game to you. It's this really weird like mindset that happens because they have to pay for the tables. Well, no, it's because if they didn't do that, there'd be no structure, and people would just lay out games everywhere. And the people who were there for like more like demoing purpose of that would have no place to play because everyone would just lay out their stuff and everything, and there'd be people playing their own games there.
Yeah, the generic tickets are $2 a head, but they don't really give me guidelines for, okay, does that equal this many plays or this much time sitting at a table? You know, even when I asked at the ticket purchasing booth how that worked, they were like, it kind of depends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay. So really, it's more of a little bit a way for GenCon to make some revenue on that space that, you know, they're renting from the convention hall, obviously. And also to sort of track, you know, okay, are people going to these events? That's the only thing I can figure is it's mostly a tracking / a little bit of revenue recouping.
Right. Well, and I have to assume that the people who are collecting the tickets, right? So like when that guy who was demoing stuff, I'm assuming when he gets all done, he hands them the tickets for X amount of pennies on the dollar when he hands it in.
They do. I heard a couple people mention, well, I got to turn all these into GenCon. So obviously GenCon's expecting that.
And in some way, I mean, like I said, it's weird because you're paying money to like demo stuff and to do stuff that you think should be like the people should almost be paying you to do type of thing, but it's the only way they can keep it organized. Because if you don't have it like that, I don't know. I could just imagine it being crazy. No, you know, the people that were there to demo stuff and they wouldn't have table space. There wouldn't be anything like that. So I understand it. It's just awkward, and it's something that loops back into a lot of problems that we had when we were there, which is nothing's explained.
Mm-hmm.
You have to research and plan.
Yeah.
You have to like know what you're doing when you get there, because no one will. You can just show up like, so how does this work? And people are like, I don't know.
Yeah, GenCon feels like it's the advanced D&D of conventions. You know, your first time there is going to be leveling up levels 1 through 10. Like that's the learning. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Like if we were to go back, if it magically started next weekend and we went back, we'd be so much more prepared, having gone through it. And I think for first timers, you're just going to have to accept that first go through is you're gaining experience points, basically. But I would say they really should make a designated free play area that's very clearly that's what it is. Even if they require you to use a generic ticket to get into it, this is your safe zone. Bring any game you want. Sit down and play. Just give me your ticket.
Yeah, because they had one that was designated as a free play area, but it was like a rent games by the hour.
That was a library out in the passage. Yeah.
And like, again, it's the type of thing where because there's so many people and the people there are dealing with like this huge rush of stuff, no one's really clear and explain stuff. Like I wasn't sure, can I bring my own game here and play it? Or do I need to rent one of your games? How does this work? And because of like just I think the overall overwhelming masses of people, there wasn't a lot of explanation or like no one ever met you and was like, oh, what's your question? Let me help you out. Go over here, do some stuff. Everyone's answer was kind of like a hands in the air, like, I don't know, man, it's crazy here. Good luck. It's Wild West.
Yeah. I would say, though, going through the play area was a pretty neat spectacle. You saw like some crazy war game tables. There was some like zombie outbreak game that was on this giant, like, I don't know, 10 by 20 table.
Yeah.
Bunch of Heroescape, which surprised me. Ton of Heroescape.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool.
So if you don't mind just walking around and watching stuff, there was a lot to see. And then, some of the bigger companies had designated tables you could play their cool games at too. And it's a little less crazy as trying to pick up a demo in the exhibit hall.
And I think that's what the lead into this is you have to go in expecting the experience and not like, I felt like because we went in and we were thinking like, okay, we're going to try to shoot some footage, we're trying to get some demos, and we're kind of trying to push for that stuff, and it impeded on the whole experience, I think. I think if you go in there not wanting to film stuff, if you're going there purely as a con goer, and you're just willing to let the current kind of take you wherever it does,
Yeah.
I think you can enjoy it. You just have to go in expecting there not to be a lot of structure to your day.
Right. And one little guerrilla gaming tip, but near the Magic the Gathering tournament tables were some white cloth tables, the only ones in the whole hall, which I think were pretty much a parking spot for people waiting for the next round of the tournament or people there with people in the tournament. Excellent place to just play a game.
Yeah.
So GenCon is huge, obviously. There's a ton going on. We mentioned all the stuff in the exhibit hall and the play hall. But there's so many people that there's a ton of stuff going on between those halls.
Yeah, I mean, there's this stuff outside of the actual, like, GenCon itself. It's, you're traveled there. If you're from out of state, your hotel room, eating, all the type of stuff you have to take care of outside of the actual thing, which affects your experience there too.
Yeah, we flew in to Phoenix and took a connector from Phoenix to Indianapolis. And as soon as we got to Phoenix, we saw people playing games.
Yep.
All the way, we saw people playing games. We were on the same plane as the Gameland Games guys, which was really cool. You get there were people playing games at our hotel. And then in the passageways between halls at the convention center, which are giant passageways. I want to call them halls, but those aren't the halls. There were people playing games all over there. This kind of goes back to what we said earlier about trouble finding free play areas.
Yes.
There were also a ton of cosplayers walking through there, taking pictures. Then they had a couple fixed things set up on those halls. And this is a multi-level structure, so these passages are on multiple levels, and they're full on each one. So there was a giant robo-rally.
That was cool to watch.
Very cool, actual moving, programmed
There was that magic thing
robot.
where they got all the cards and built towers.
Yeah, Card Halla. So that was a charity thing they did where one huge area with these people building card towers out of old gaming cards from all kinds of games. And it was giant. And at the end of the con, basically you contribute to the charity and you get to destroy Card Halla. Which is pretty cool. There's also the balloon guy.
Yes.
The balloon guy spent the whole convention building something, and you couldn't really tell.
It's like an octopus.
Yeah, I think it ended up being a giant like kraken octopus thing out of red balloons mainly. And he was there the whole time working on that thing, it seemed like.
Yep.
And it just got bigger and bigger and weirder until it became this huge octopus kraken thing. So that was extremely cool. Also, after the first day, you started seeing the people resting or even sleeping in those passages, which was kind of funny. There were couple giant games, it seemed like.
Oh, Bring Out Your Dead.
Well, yeah, the Bring Out Your Dead thing was them referencing Werewolf, right?
Yeah, so at night they play Werewolf. That was largely at night, I think, right?
Yeah, it seemed like it was in the evenings. They would play. Yeah, it was one of the versions of Werewolves. It was hard to tell. We didn't participate, so I didn't see exactly which version it was. But yeah, they were playing Werewolf. Basically, it seemed like from about 9:00 till long after we left.
Yeah, and so the thing with that convention is the exhibit hall closed at 6 o'clock, I believe, and I think the scheduled events for the most part in the play hall ended at like 8. Is that right?
It seemed like it, yeah, no later than that.
And
usually.
then I think that play hall stayed open till like 11.
Mhm.
And from what I was told, although we weren't really there to witness, stuff was being going on in the passages between them all night long.
Yes.
So like the werewolf people there trucking for a long time. There was that other game, 2 rooms and a boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then also off these passages were a bunch of smaller ballrooms and stuff where there were a ton of events.
And that's something that like got to me. It gets back to the whole there's no communication going on with it. There's all these little rooms in the convention center, in adjoining hotels. Nothing's really labeled.
Mm-hmm.
You'll walk by and there'll be a sign that says, like Blue Water Down. You're like, okay,
Very vague.
what's Blue Water Down? And you'll find out that like that's reference to a particular mission map in this one game.
Yeah.
So like they don't put a sign up that says Hero Escape Play Room, something like that. They would make some weird. It's all some weird reference, and there isn't a lot of communication. You go in and the people at the doors don't really like interact with you. It was an awkward experience because there's all this stuff going on, and none of it seemed like it was ready for you to just pick up and play. Right?
Yeah.
It was all you had to pre-plan.
If you hadn't booked that specific event and therefore known what it specifically was referred to, you were just going to walk by. I wonder what that is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely none of the event stuff was meant to encourage just drop in at all. Maybe, I guess there was an electronic gaming area.
Yeah, I walked by Call of Duty tournament, I think.
Oh, okay.
Like a small one.
So, well, if they're tournaments, those aren't going to welcome drop-ins probably either.
Probably not.
Then let's talk about True Dungeon really quick.
Oh.
You also get to, there's this, if you haven't heard of it, this cool idea, this kind of live action event called True Dungeon where you go through a dungeon. I think you get your own character class, but it's you walking through solving puzzles and fighting fake monsters through a sort of a shuffleboard mechanic. Every year they come up with a new theme, and you have to book those. And what we learned the hard way was you got to watch the wording of the bookings because we went and we knew I had scheduled it 10 a.m. True Dungeon. The day before we figured out where True Dungeon was in the convention center. Got there early, went to the thing. Turns out what I had booked was True Dungeon 101, which was in some other ballroom in some other hotel and was just a sort of class to learn about True Dungeon.
It's awful.
So we didn't get to go to True Dungeon, sadly. But that's probably okay because I hear it's pretty expensive. But there's a lot of that going on. You have to really be dialed in. You have to book your events. You're walking through those passageways, looking at all these signs. It's not really clear.
And I think that's the flip of it is like you think about like conventions like Comic-Con, right? Where they have like the big Hall H panels and people are lining up the night before to get in. There's none of that here. Like there's no one's waiting in lines days before or hours before to do anything. That's an advantage of it. But the disadvantage is that you can't show up like us. You can't show up at the con and be like, what's here to do? There's nothing for you to do except for buy games. Period. That's it. If you don't show up with stuff already pre-booked. And that's the big takeaway is that going in next year, we're going to have to make sure that we schedule. I mean, I don't want to cram every hour full of stuff, but I have to make sure that 1 or 2 days is just all scheduled events because otherwise you miss out on a lot of stuff because there's no way to just hop in when you see it and say, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah. If you haven't already figured it out, GenCon is massive, full of people, and so it can't help but burst out of that convention center into Indianapolis, and you see evidence of it everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. I mean, you see it in the surrounding areas in terms of restaurants you go to. Every time, of course, there's little concession stands inside GenCon. So if you want a hot dog or a hamburger or a soda in a white cup, you can get that there. But if you want more traditional sustenance, you have to leave the convention center. And of course, all the surrounding area is just full of stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of pubs. We didn't actually go into any of them, but I understand that's a very popular thing. A lot of people go in there, but they were all crammed, packed, full of human beings. So many human beings. So we ended up going to more traditional. We're from California. We went to Indianapolis, and we ate at California Pizza Kitchen.
It wasn't bad.
Twice. No, it wasn't bad. I'm not complaining about that. It's just hilarious that we went to California Pizza Kitchen.
Well, the wait was under 20 minutes.
That's true, and that's the reason why is that there was actually room there. The other thing is all the adjacent buildings all are attached through skywalks to the convention center. So the mall is connected there, and so that's cool. Is if you want to go shopping for some reason in the middle, you can go there. There's a food court there.
Excellent.
When you go across, you come to stairs. The first thing that when you came up the escalators into the actual mall proper was the Geek Chic table store, which was cool. So that people go in there and just play on their tables if you wanted to.
Look at their very expensive, awesome tables.
Yeah, awesome, expensive tables. And then right next to that was the food court itself, which they had more tables, Geek Chic tables set up at, and lots of places to eat and such.
What was it? I forgot what I was getting. Oh yeah, so the food court that's where we interviewed
Gamelin Games.
Gamelin Games.
Yeah, they took over some Geek Chic tables that Geek Chic had put out at the food court, and they were demoing tiny
Epic Galaxies.
And they're older games too. So we got to interview them and play Tiny Epic Galaxies, which was awesome. And you saw people playing games at other tables and in those skywalks even.
Yeah,
yes.
We were kind of lying when we said there's nowhere to play your games you just bought. You could just walk across the skywalk and just play in the food court.
I got the impression that if you started playing games at the regular food court tables, because those things were packed.
Yeah, they were.
I got the impression that people would not be happy with you. But
the actual gameplay area that is open for everybody is floor.
Yeah.
You play on the floor in lots of different places.
Yeah, for sure. In the hotel, we went to the Dice Tower Live event, which was actually in a hotel ballroom connected.
Yes.
And we saw people playing games in those areas. There were just random tables. You know, you walk by, people were just sitting on a little guerrilla gaming going on there for sure. So downtown Indy, my overall impression was GenCon means a lot to them. All the merchants seem to be aware of GenCon and geared towards GenCon. Our Uber drivers knew about GenCon.
Yep. Oh.
There were taxis everywhere. Some of them had little GenCon signs on them. There was a giant food truck area.
We didn't get to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Problem was that we got our hotel 10 miles away from GenCon.
The lesson to be learned: book your hotel early.
And it could very well, depending on your price point, it could be worth it to get one of those hotels that's attached.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because just the fact that you can wake up, walk to GenCon, halfway through the day you bought some stuff, you can take it back to your room, drop it off.
Go back to GenCon.
Yeah, go back to GenCon. If you want to take a midday nap to get some late gaming in later, you could do that.
Use a bathroom that's only yours.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sweet private bathrooms. Because one of the things that we ran into is because we were having to take Uber a 15 to 20 minute drive away is that we had to carry everything with us that we acquired all day.
Yeah.
And the best time to buy stuff is at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
So you're carrying, and a lot of the companies have these really cool big swag bags. So then you're carrying around these huge, gigantic bags with one game in it.
Yeah.
And then, what do I do with these things? And it makes it hard to do a lot of the other stuff because you're continuously wait, where's my bag at? Where's this at? Where's this other thing at? In fact, we all brought, I brought a backpack to pack things in.
Backpack.
We almost didn't need them. And going forward, I might not bring a backpack next time because they give you such big swag bags. You can only fit a board game or maybe 2 in a backpack anyways. So if you're going there not bringing anything to the convention, if you're going to buy stuff there, you can basically go naked and survive, I think, just fine.
You probably want, this is just purely tactical crowd control issue. It's probably better to have a bag that you can hang around you kind of messenger bag style because I had a big backpack full of stuff. Yeah, and I nailed some people with it.
You did.
I know I did. And that's okay because people nailed me with their bags too. There were some people walking through there with rolling luggage, which drove me up a wall.
Yeah, why?
That's a little excessive. But anyway, that's a tangent. Another thing, just talking about how GenCon's so pervasive, I think we mentioned in the earlier segment, we saw people at the airport in Phoenix playing games. On our day to fly out, there was a flight coming in from Phoenix that we were going to get on and go back to Phoenix, and it was delayed. And it affected a lot of people. There was another one to Philly, they got canceled, I think. And we're just this general area in the gates where there were a lot of tables between food places, and I think there were 5, 6 tables where people were playing
Yep.
games. So that was pretty cool. It just pervasive gaming. It was great to see and experience. While we were playing, we were sitting there playing Flip City. Some guys that owned a game store came up and started asking us, what were our impressions of that game? What are our impressions of the convention? They started telling us stuff they experienced at the convention. It was just really cool. So just anywhere in Indy, including the airport, you felt like GenCon was there, and I thought that was really cool.
And the one exception to that was, what was that, Friday night? The One Direction concert? So there was a One Direction concert
and a Kid Rock concert.
And a Kid Rock concert.
Are they still popular?
And that night, like after, we made a mistake of trying to leave Gen Con at the same exact, like we didn't know when the concert was getting out, but we walked out and you could just see a wall of humanity coming down the street of people who just got out. And we just kind of slowly backed back in. We're like, we're just going to play a couple more games and wait for it. But even a couple hours later, they had streets closed down.
Yeah.
It was hard to get, like, there's lots of one-way streets there, so it was hard to, because they had streets closed, it was hard to get an Uber or cab to go anywhere. There was a bunch of cabbies that were kind of locked into this dead area because they closed the street basically on both sides of them.
Yeah.
And so the cabbies were kind of stuck there just waiting.
But they're still trying to pick up fares.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
But that was the one thing that, like, even seemed to, it just added to the congestion, right? Because it's already crazy down there.
Yeah.
And then you add a big concert like that with a bunch of screaming tweens, and it just gets out of control.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. It felt like there was you were watching a wave of nerd coming to collide with a wave of tweens. Who knows what had happened. So of course we ran inside. That was very cool. Oh boy, Gen Con. There was a lot to cover. I think we're still kind of processing some of it. Dylan, what were your overall thoughts, takeaways from your first Gen Con experience?
Okay, look, Gen Con. You're a great thing, Look, you're something that everyone should experience at least once, probably. But you have some major problems to sort out, buddy. Look, I want to. If I buy a game, I want to play it. I don't want to get a ticket and then give a guy who doesn't care about me to give me a seat that I can only have for 20 minutes. It's stupid. It really is stupid the way you handle things like that. But I love seeing cosplayers at a board gaming con, which is kind of cool. But there's so many different things about you, Gen Con, that I can't really say or think about. But you have some problems to sort out, but you are a great thing. And I think I'll come next year.
All right. Will?
Pacing yourself. If you're there for 4 days, you're still not going to get everything done. So don't try. Take it slow. Try to pick 1 or 2 things to do every day. Do those. Go home and get sleep. Or to your hotel room and get sleep. So many people there, like, as we went on, we saw people just crashed out on, like, sitting at a table just wiped out on it. And I realized that people like to do the I want a game nonstop 24/7, but after so much time without sleep, you really aren't having fun anymore. You're just grinding just to do it. Sleep, take showers, eat, be calm. And on the flip side of that, even though I saw a lot of people pass up to that, everyone there was, while some people were short or weren't really explaining stuff very well, everyone was super friendly and nice. I didn't have a single person, when I bumped into somebody, everyone was like, oh, sorry, but everyone was cool. There wasn't any, what's going on, man, like you get if you go to a lot of other stuff. So it was super pleasant. Everyone there was really friendly and easy to approach. So on the flip side of that, if you're there alone, just welcome people and ask to play. They'll let you.
Yeah. My overall impression of Gen Con was amazing, massive, stressful, but you kind of got to embrace the stress. As I said before, this is the AD&D of conventions. If it's your first one, accept that your first one's going to be a little bit of a bust. You're not going to get done or you're going to understand everything the first go around. hopefully you'll have enough fun, like I think we did, that you'll want to come back and you'll be armed with just a ton more knowledge and preparation that next time around. But the takeaways far outnumbered the troubles. It was a ton of fun. I saw a million things, a million people. Played some games a little bit, demoed some stuff, saw some cool things I've never seen before, got put into some experiences we never experienced before. So I can't help but appreciate and call it a big win overall. I would say if you've never been, be prepared as much as you can, but understand stuff's going to slip through your fingers, and that's going to just have to be okay. Just have fun, enjoy the ride.
So that was our quick but rather long review of our experience with our first Gen Con. Let us know your experience with Gen Con below, or let us know when you're planning on going. Click on me to subscribe. Thanks to all these people for helping us out.